elders told me the problems of this country can be solved when the white man remembers again who he is. Then we can sit together as equals and work out our differences. It was here in Tajikistan. Finally, I found someone that would claim white people. In Kyrgyzstan, what they told me is, and they actually have the oral history about who's related to who, but nobody wants to own Europe. I can't get any of the healers anywhere in the world. When I say what I'm doing, that I'm doing this remembrance, they say that's good, but they don't want it. Too much pain. We in the Western world have dished out too much pain for too long, and people just can't say, well, let me help you, right? But I remembered what my American Indian elders told me, remember, when the white man remembers again who he is. So I knew they wanted us to remember who we are, right? Or in America, it doesn't matter, it almost doesn't matter if you're European, African, Jew, whatever you are. We all went through this process of Americanization, which is about invasion, denigration, and rejection. It started when Europe came and met Indians. It's ongoing and continuous to this day. And we do it all day, every day. It's like breathing air. Right? Okay, so now I'm in Tajikistan, and once again, I ask. I'm with a professor, and I'm going through this museum, and I'm looking at all of these ancient stones, and I'm looking at, they've got this stuffed eagle like I've never seen. It's got a big white ruff around it. And then this is the home of the snow leopard too, right? And they're all beings that empower the people. And I'm trying to be careful because we are really being policed here, so I have to be very careful of what I say. I'm in front of a display case. We walk around and there's all these stones, and it was so powerful. It just hit me, and I wanted to kneel, but I'm trying to be discreet, so I kind of go like this, and I'm like, oh, I'm really interested in it, but actually I'm praying. And then the one man who was an anthropologist, he was like, we say in Hawaii, akamai, like he knows what's going on. And on the surface, he's a Sufi, right? But he has to hide, even the Sufis, which are part of Islam. When he wanted to talk to me, and he heads the anthropology center, we had to lock the doors, close the windows, right? And everywhere we went, like I was, I have to have my head covered and all that. It was 140 degrees, and I have to cover my head. And I noticed the mullahs have these beautiful, just sheer linen, wonderful garments. Look at the women, that's the mullahs. The women are wearing polyester, dark clothes, right? With synthetic scarves. It's got to be 140 degrees, right? So, things like that were going on that were just awful, in the midst of being with really wonderful people. So, so I'm with this professor at this museum, and we were looking at some artifacts, and I'm kind of not recognizing one, and he says it's like Sogdian, he says Persian, and then he says, no, he didn't say Persian, I wouldn't have understood, he said Zoroastrian, but he said it in his own, that I know. And then this young girl catches up with us, she was a little bit late, my interpreter, and I asked him, I said, so Zoroastrian, I said, where, and he says, yes, and he said, our main fire is the sacred fire, right? And I know that the sacred fire is the main spiritual power of European tribal people. All tribal peoples around the world reverence the basic elements of creation. And the sacred fire is one that people of European ancestry are supposed to be taking care of, but we have not remembered for a very long time. And here I was in the heart of the Taliban and Muslim orthodoxy, and here I'm encountering Sufis and Zoroastrian people, and they have to be very careful, and they're still doing their sacred fire. When they do the sacred fire, normally you're not supposed to share traditions just openly like that, But I'm praying and hoping that you guys, some of you here, are going to remember when it comes the spring equinox, you make this fire. And you make the fire and you jump, after you make your prayers and everything for the new year, you jump across it 3 times. And when you're done, you don't look back. You go home and you take that with you, whatever happened to you, okay? So they're still doing that. Then I asked them, I said, I've gone all over the world, and everywhere I asked, are you related to the white people of the world? Are you related to European people come from here? He said, yes, we're all Aryans. My God, that's it. I've come home. They said to me, okay, Apela, we see it's almost like Sekhmet. We see your aura, we see your light, we know who you are. And when they say that, it's like, they just like x-rayed you spiritually or something. It's like, we know who you are, because we see who you are. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to tell you. On March 22nd, we're going to do an uluat, a great fire ceremony. And the people there, take note, they really like the 5-pointed star. And they're going to make 4 fires on the land, and the 5th fire is going to be at the top of their mountain. In modern times it's called the Suleiman mountain, the great Islamic prophet, right? Suleiman. But the mountain is for the sacredness, protecting the sacredness of fresh water and life, right? We're going to do this fire. And they said, we've started doing this fire the last 4 or 5 years. And they said the Orthodox Church, just like the Catholic Church, had an Office of Inquisition, and now they changed the name, but they still have it. The Muslim faith has that too. And he said, when we did these fires again after the Soviet Union left, we got a letter saying, that's wrong, you better not do it. He said, but they didn't take any action, so we're still doing it. They said, so on March 22nd, this coming March, we're going to make this fire. And they said, and we want you to ask the other people, the healers in your network, to make us fire at the same day, at the same time. And we'll put our minds together about healing the earth and so forth. And then they said, we did this before. And I'm thinking, yesterday, last month, whatever. He said, there was a time when our people were one. And we split off. And they said, some people went and became Siberians, some of us became Kyrgyz. He said, some became Japanese, some became American Indians. And he said, before we separated, we made this uluat, so that we would remember when we light this fire, who we are, and to pull our minds together again. So on March 22nd, in your own humble way, I hope that you will also light a fire. And just have that thought of love for your ancestors. Even if everybody you know was a troublemaker. Something in that line for you. Because you wouldn't even be here hearing somebody talk about remembering if you weren't already in remembering yourself.